I mean, just take a look at this sidewalk here. You can hardly even tell there's anything here. And with this busy street right next to it, what do you all say we give this place a little bit of a cleanup?
What if one of YouTube's most beloved lawn care heroes was never telling the full story? Millions of viewers saw Martin Hernandez as the humble father restoring forgotten yards out of pure kindness. But behind the viral transformations, another question quietly spread across social media. Was M&D Lawn Care really a charitable mission, or had compassion become a business strategy that generated fame, media attention, and millions of views? As uploads became less frequent and public curiosity intensified, rumors about burnout, financial strain, health concerns, and family pressures began to grow. The truth is far more complicated than either supporters or critics expected, and it changes the way many people will see Martin Hernandez forever. The pressures no one saw. The internet often creates the illusion that viral success solves every problem. In reality, it frequently creates new ones. As M&D Lawn Care's popularity exploded, the pressure surrounding Martin Hernandez increased in ways that most viewers never fully understood. The first challenge was physical. Lawn restoration is demanding work, even for young professionals. Martin was approaching 60 years old while continuing to operate heavy equipment, lift tools, walk large properties, and work for hours in extreme Texas heat. Many viewers saw him smiling on camera, but they did not feel the strain placed on his body day after day. The second challenge was financial. Free lawn care projects still required fuel, mower blades, engine oil, replacement parts, transportation, disposal fees, and equipment maintenance. Viral videos might generate advertising revenue, but the costs associated with constant restoration work remained substantial. M&D Lawn Care continued relying heavily on its paid commercial services to support both the business and the outreach program. Then came the psychological pressure. Millions of viewers began expecting a steady stream of heartwarming transformations. Every new upload was compared to previous successes. People wanted more overgrown properties, more emotional homeowner reactions, and more evidence that kindness could change lives. Maintaining that expectation while running a real business was extraordinarily difficult. Social media added another layer of scrutiny. When uploads became less frequent, speculation began spreading rapidly. Some viewers wondered whether Martin was experiencing health problems. Others suggested that financial difficulties had forced the channel to slow down. A few even speculated about family conflicts or burnout caused by the relentless workload. The truth was less dramatic but no less significant. Martin had chosen to prioritize the quality of each project over the quantity of videos uploaded. Thorough inspections, safety evaluations, equipment preparation, and complete cleanup required time. Rushing projects simply to satisfy the algorithm would have compromised the standards that had built the channel's reputation. Daniel gradually assumed greater responsibility within the operation, helping divide the workload more effectively. The father and son partnership became increasingly important as the demands of both the business and the YouTube channel continued to grow. Yet public attention changed everyday life. Thousands of strangers were now invested in Martin's schedule, health, and personal decisions. Every absence was analyzed, every delay sparked questions. The warm, humble lawn care worker had become a public figure, whether he wanted that role or not. Perhaps the greatest irony was that the channel's success was built on genuine acts of service, but the audience's constant hunger for new, inspirational content risked turning those acts into a source of ongoing pressure. The more people admired Martin Hernandez, the more they expected from him. That invisible burden became one of the most important parts of his story, and one of the least visible. The rumors, the truth, and the private man. As speculation intensified online, many viewers began asking the same question. What really happened to Martin Hernandez? Rumors ranged from serious health issues to retirement, financial collapse, and family disputes. The reduced upload frequency encouraged people to fill the information gap with their own theories. In the world of internet personalities, silence is often interpreted as evidence that something must be wrong. Publicly available information, however, paints a very different picture. Martin Hernandez continues to work alongside Daniel Hernandez on landscaping projects and community outreach efforts. M&D Lawn Care remains active on YouTube, even if the posting schedule is less aggressive than during its fastest growth period. Recent content continues to show Martin operating lawnmowers, leaf blowers, and other professional equipment under the same harsh Texas conditions that have always defined his work. There is no reliable public evidence indicating that he is suffering from a serious medical condition. While the work is undeniably demanding and age naturally affects physical endurance, Martin appears to be maintaining a workload that matches his abilities. Daniel's increased involvement has allowed some of the heavier responsibilities to be shared more effectively. Equally important, there is no public confirmation of major conflict within the Hernandez family. Father and son continue appearing together on projects from preparation through completion, and their teamwork remains one of the channel's strongest and most recognizable features. What has remained remarkably consistent is Martin's commitment to privacy. Unlike many online creators who transform every aspect of their personal lives into content, he rarely discusses family matters, relationships, finances, or activities unrelated to work. The channel focuses overwhelmingly on property restoration and the homeowners being helped, rather than on creating drama around the Hernandez family itself. That choice may actually explain why so many rumors emerged. Audiences have become accustomed to creators sharing intimate details of their lives. When someone withholds that information, curiosity often turns into speculation. Longtime followers have noticed that Martin seems especially energized by the most difficult restoration projects, properties covered in tall grass, thick brush, and years of neglect. For him, the satisfaction appears to come less from internet metrics and more from the visible transformation achieved through hard physical work. Another frequently overlooked detail is that Daniel learned the trade almost entirely through hands-on experience with his father. There were no formal training programs or corporate landscaping courses. The knowledge was transferred gradually through years of shared labor, equipment maintenance, property assessments, and real-world problem solving. Perhaps the most important truth is that M&D Lawn Care has never operated solely as a charitable organization. Paid lawn care services remain an essential part of the business model, providing the revenue needed to cover operating expenses and sustain the free community projects. Rather than contradicting the channel's mission, that commercial foundation is what makes the outreach efforts financially sustainable over the long term. The sensational rumors may attract attention, but the available evidence suggests a quieter reality. Martin Hernandez is not a fallen internet hero hiding a dramatic secret. He is a hard-working businessman who became unexpectedly famous while trying to balance service, family, physical labor, and public attention. Before the viral fame, long before millions of people recognized the name Martin Hernandez, he was simply another hard-working man trying to provide for his family in Texas. His days revolved around overgrown lawns, heavy equipment, long hours under the blazing Texas sun, and the constant pressure that comes with operating a small business. There were no cameras following him, no sponsorships, no media interviews, and certainly no expectation that strangers across the world would one day watch him transform neglected properties. Around 2008, Martin established M&D Lawn Care in Channelview near Houston. The company was modest from the beginning, serving local homeowners who needed reliable lawn maintenance. Most customers came through word of mouth, and Martin handled nearly every part of the operation himself. He inspected properties, prepared equipment, mowed lawns, trimmed vegetation, cleaned up debris, maintained machinery, and managed scheduling. Every completed job mattered because each payment helped keep the business alive. The work was physically demanding. Texas summers are unforgiving, and lawn care requires constant exposure to heat, dust, humidity, and exhausting manual labor. While many people viewed mowing lawns as simple work, Martin knew it demanded endurance, discipline, and consistency. A broken mower, rising fuel costs, or unexpected repairs could quickly threaten the stability of a small operation. What made Martin's situation even more challenging was that he was also raising his son, Daniel Hernandez. Balancing parenthood with entrepreneurship required sacrifices that most viewers never saw. The income from lawn care covered everyday expenses, but it was never guaranteed. Every gallon of fuel, replacement blade, engine repair, and maintenance expense had to be carefully considered. As Daniel grew older, he began accompanying his father to job sites. At first, he performed small tasks and observed how the business operated. Over time, he learned how to use professional equipment, assess property conditions, maintain machinery, and handle the unexpected problems that arise during landscaping work. Their relationship was built less through speeches and more through shared labor, early mornings, and long days spent solving problems together. Customers remembered Martin not only for the quality of his work, but also for his attitude. He showed up on time, treated properties with care, and often spent extra time helping when situations required it. Those habits gradually built a reputation reputation for honesty and reliability throughout the local community. At that stage, Martin Hernandez was not chasing internet fame. His world consisted of lawns, equipment trailers, pickup trucks, invoices, and the responsibility of supporting his family. Ironically, the qualities that later attracted millions of viewers, humility, hard work, and kindness, were already present long before anyone was watching. The encounter that changed everything. The turning point in Martin Hernandez's life did not begin with a business plan, a marketing consultant, or a carefully designed social media strategy. It began with a single encounter that changed the way he viewed his work forever. While working in a residential neighborhood, Martin met an elderly woman who was struggling to maintain her property. She explained that the little money she had needed to be spent on medication and basic living expenses.
How are you doing, sir? My name is Daniel. Wondering if you would be interested in some yard work. Can I offer you something interesting? It's for free, sir.
Lawn care had become an impossible luxury. For many contractors, the conversation might have ended with sympathy and a polite goodbye. For Martin, it became something much more significant. Instead of charging for the service, he decided to mow the woman's lawn for free. He did not treat the act as extraordinary or announce it to the public. It was simply a response to a difficult situation. Yet that moment forced him to see lawn care differently. He realized that restoring a yard could also restore dignity, safety, and peace of mind for someone who was overwhelmed by life's circumstances. After that experience, Martin began dedicating part of each week to helping people who could not afford professional lawn maintenance. Elderly homeowners, individuals with disabilities, and families facing financial hardship became the focus of these outreach efforts. The decision came with real financial consequences. Fuel, maintenance, transportation, and labor costs did not disappear simply because a project was charitable. In many cases, Martin and his family absorbed those expenses themselves. At the time, his goal was not to build a brand. He wanted neglected yards cleaned up and burdens lifted from people who were struggling. The transformations were practical, visible, and immediate. Tall grass disappeared, dangerous brush was removed, sidewalks became accessible again, and homeowners often experienced a renewed sense of pride in their surroundings. In 2020, M&D Lawn Care began documenting some of these projects on YouTube. The earliest videos were simple point-of-view recordings focused on mowing techniques, brush removal, and before and after results. There was little narration and almost no storytelling. The channel initially appealed mainly to viewers interested in landscaping and property restoration. Gradually, however, the focus began to change. Viewers became interested not only in the overgrown yards, but also in the people behind them. They wanted to understand why these properties had been neglected and how the transformations affected the homeowners. The emotional element became impossible to ignore. Not everyone was convinced. Some early viewers questioned whether the videos were simply a clever way to advertise the business. Skepticism is common whenever charitable acts are filmed and shared online. But as more stories appeared, many viewers concluded that the hardships were genuine and that Martin continued performing the difficult work himself, rather than merely staging dramatic content for the camera. Daniel's growing presence on the channel added another layer of authenticity. Father and son worked side by side through inspections, trimming, mowing, cleanup, and filming. Their natural interaction became one of the channel's most recognizable qualities. Without realizing it, Martin Hernandez had begun a journey that would transform a small Houston lawn care company into a phenomenon watched by millions, when kindness became viral. As more videos were uploaded, something unexpected happened. M&D Lawn Care began standing out in a crowded YouTube landscape filled with landscaping channels, home improvement content, and outdoor restoration videos. The channel's strength was not flashy editing or expensive production, it was authenticity. Viewers were drawn to the dramatic contrast between abandoned properties and the clean, restored yards that emerged after hours of exhausting labor. But they were also captivated by Martin's calm demeanor, respectful interactions with homeowners, and obvious satisfaction in seeing positive change. The subscriber count grew rapidly. Videos began attracting hundreds of thousands, then millions of views. People from across the United States and eventually around the world started following the father and son team. What had once been a local service business suddenly had a global audience. The viral success brought opportunities that Martin could never have imagined during his early years mowing lawns in Texas. News organizations began covering the story as an example of community service combined with professional skill. Local television stations such as KHOU and ABC 13 highlighted the impact the free projects had on struggling families throughout the Houston area. One of the biggest milestones came when People magazine published a feature about Martin Hernandez and his efforts to help homeowners facing difficult circumstances. The article introduced M&D Lawn Care to an even broader audience and elevated Martin from a local businessman to a nationally recognized figure associated with generosity and hard work. With that recognition came a flood of attention. Thousands of comments appeared under every video. Viewers shared emotional reactions, personal stories, and requests for help from communities far beyond Houston. Many people discovered the channel through television reports or online articles, and then began binge-watching the YouTube transformations. The fame, however, created a complicated reality. Every viral video generated more requests from homeowners seeking assistance. The number of people needing help quickly exceeded what Martin and Daniel could realistically accomplish. Choosing which properties to restore became an emotionally difficult responsibility. Behind each short YouTube video were hours of unseen work, contacting homeowners, verifying situations, inspecting properties, planning equipment needs, arranging transportation, and completing extensive cleanup after filming ended. Some properties had been neglected for years and required specialized tools, multiple passes with heavy equipment, and an entire day of labor. The public saw a satisfying 10-minute transformation. Martin experienced the physical exhaustion that made those transformations possible. By this point, M&D Lawn Care was no longer just a lawn service. It had become a symbol of practical compassion. Ironically, the very success created by those acts of kindness would soon produce pressures that threatened to change everything, the legacy still being written. The most fascinating part of Martin Hernandez's story is that it is still unfolding. Unlike many viral internet personalities who rise quickly and disappear just as fast, his influence has been built on something unusually tangible: real work performed in real neighborhoods for real people. Every restored property represents more than trimmed grass and removed weeds. For elderly homeowners, it can mean improved safety and reduced anxiety about city code violations. For struggling families, it can provide relief from a burden they could not afford to address themselves. For viewers, it offers a reminder that meaningful acts of service do not always require enormous wealth or celebrity status. Martin's legacy is also inseparable from the relationship with his son. The channel has documented not only lawn transformations, but also the gradual transfer of knowledge from one generation to the next. Daniel's growing role demonstrates that M&D Lawn Care is more than a personal project. It is a partnership shaped by years of shared experience. In an online world dominated by outrage, controversy, and carefully manufactured personalities, the continued appeal of M&D Lawn Care says something important about what audiences still value. People respond to visible effort, practical skill, humility, and genuine human connection. The dramatic before and after footage may attract the initial click, but the reason many viewers stay is the sense that they are watching ordinary people trying to make a positive difference through honest work. The slowdown in uploads may actually reveal maturity rather than decline. Instead of sacrificing quality to satisfy algorithms, Martin and Daniel appear to have chosen a pace that allows them to complete projects properly while maintaining the standards that earned public trust in the first place. Critics may continue debating whether filming charitable acts changes their meaning. Supporters may continue viewing Martin Hernandez as an inspiring example of generosity. The reality probably contains elements that both sides overlook. M&D Lawn Care is simultaneously a business, a source of online content, and a vehicle for helping people who genuinely need assistance. What cannot be denied is that Martin Hernandez transformed an ordinary landscaping career into something that has affected millions of viewers and countless homeowners. He did it without celebrity connections, corporate backing, or a carefully engineered media strategy. His story began with a pickup truck, lawn equipment, a son learning the trade beside him, and a willingness to help when he encountered someone in need. That is why the truth about Martin Hernandez is ultimately more interesting than the rumors. The real story is not about a secret scandal hidden behind the camera. It is about a hard-working father who discovered that the simplest kind of labor, cutting grass, clearing brush, and restoring neglected yards, could unexpectedly become a source of hope, pressure, responsibility, and lasting impact for far more people than he ever imagined possible. So what truly happened to Martin Hernandez after the cameras stopped feeling new and the attention became overwhelming? The evidence suggests that the viral lawn care hero never disappeared at all. Instead, he continued doing what he had always done, working long hours, serving customers, helping struggling homeowners, and protecting his family's privacy while the internet searched for dramatic secrets. His journey reminds us that genuine impact is often far less sensational than the rumors surrounding it. If this story changed the way you see M&D Lawn Care, like and subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for more surprising true stories behind famous internet personalities.